Tensions are rising as China directly confronts the US and Netherlands over their restrictions on ASML, a Dutch company crucial to semiconductor technology. ASML's advanced chip-making machines are vital for China's tech industry, but export bans have threatened China's ambitions to lead in this field. Beijing's bold move to challenge these restrictions shocks the global tech landscape, raising questions about future economic and geopolitical consequences. In this video, we explore the escalating conflict and its potential to reshape global technology and trade. Over the past few decades, China has solidified its position as the world's manufacturing hub, becoming indispensable to the global economy. International corporations like Apple, Tesla, and Microsoft have established significant manufacturing operations in China, drawn by its ability to produce large quantities of goods at lower costs. This dominance extends beyond consumer electronics into industries such as aluminum smelting, cement, concrete, and steel. Additionally, China is a leading player in solar panel production, crucial for renewable energy sectors worldwide. The roots of China's manufacturing revolution date back to the late 20th century. Under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, China initiated economic reforms in 1978 that would reshape its economy, turning it into the factory of the world. These reforms focused on attracting foreign investment, privatizing certain sectors, and creating special economic zones, SEZs, where foreign companies could operate with fewer restrictions. Shenzhen, now a thriving metropolis of nearly 18 million people, was one of the earliest CZs. It went from a small fishing village to the electronics manufacturing capital of the world, attracting major global companies such as Apple and Samsung. China's initial manufacturing dominance was largely built on low labor costs. For years, Chinese workers were paid significantly lower wages than their counterparts in developed nations, giving Chinese factories a competitive edge in mass production. However, China's rapid industrialization has been supported not only by cheap labor, but also by a combination of government subsidies, favorable policies, and strategic economic planning. China's government has played a pivotal role in boosting the country's manufacturing prowess. Through direct subsidies, tax incentives, and financial aid, the state has fostered the growth of key industries, such as solar panels, steel, and cement. This level of support often surpasses what other nations provide to their own industries, granting Chinese companies a competitive edge in the global market. Additionally, Beijing has kept the yuan's exchange rate favorable, making Chinese exports more affordable globally, even during economic slowdowns. One of China's key advantages lies in its integrated supply chains and vast domestic market, which create an ecosystem conducive to high-efficiency manufacturing. Coupled with a workforce that continues to develop specialized skills, China remains a manufacturing giant. The presence of state-owned enterprises, SOEs, further cements China's dominance. These SOEs benefit from preferential treatment, receiving generous funding, regulatory support, and lucrative contracts. This combination of state involvement, a highly skilled workforce, and government financial backing allows China to excel in industries ranging from electronics to heavy manufacturing. The economic relationship between the United States and China is both deeply intertwined and fraught with tension. While the two nations are major trade partners, they are also strategic competitors, vying for technological supremacy and geopolitical influence. U.S.-China relations saw significant progress in the early 1970s when President Richard Nixon made a historic visit to China, opening diplomatic relations between the two nations. This marked the beginning of increased economic engagement, with the U.S. providing a critical market for Chinese exports. However, as China's economic power grew, the relationship began to shift. In recent years, the U.S. has viewed China not just as an economic partner, but as a strategic rival. This has led to several rounds of trade conflicts, most notably under the Trump administration. The U.S.-China trade war, which began in 2018, saw both countries imposing tariffs on billions of dollars worth of goods. While the conflict has somewhat subsided, underlying tensions remain, particularly in technology sectors such as telecommunications and semiconductors. At the heart of the U.S.-China rivalry is the race for technological supremacy. China has made significant strides in areas like artificial intelligence, 5G technology, and semiconductor manufacturing. The US government, concerned about China's growing influence in these sectors, has taken measures to limit China's access to advanced technologies. One of the most notable examples is the restrictions placed on Huawei, China's telecommunications giant, which the US has accused of posing national security risks. The US has also pressured its allies to limit their dealings with Huawei and other Chinese tech companies, leading to a broader decoupling of the US and China in the technology space. Another flashpoint is the semiconductor industry. Semiconductors are critical components in everything from smartphones to military systems, and the US has long been a leader in this sector. However, China has been investing heavily in developing its semiconductor capabilities. This has led the US to impose export controls on semiconductor manufacturing equipment, particularly targeting China's access to advanced chip-making technologies. Despite these tensions, the US and China remain economically interdependent. The US relies heavily on Chinese imports, particularly in consumer electronics, apparel, and pharmaceuticals. American companies, including tech giants like Apple, continue to manufacture a significant portion of their products in China due to the country's unparalleled manufacturing capacity. At the same time, China depends on the US as a major export market. This interdependence creates a complex dynamic where both nations have much to gain from continued trade, yet are also locked in a strategic competition that could reshape global economic and technological landscapes. The Netherlands, a key European player in global trade, has a long-standing relationship with China. The two countries have established strong economic ties, particularly in high-tech industries and advanced manufacturing. Dutch multinational corporations, such as Philips and Royal Dutch Shell, have long been active in China. More recently, ASML, the Dutch semiconductor equipment maker, has become one of the most crucial players in the China-Netherlands relationship. ASML's lithography machines are essential for producing cutting-edge semiconductors, and China's growing semiconductor industry relies on access to these machines. However, due to pressure from the US, the Dutch government has restricted ASML from exporting its most advanced equipment to China. This has created tensions between the Netherlands and China, as China seeks to build its own domestic semiconductor industry. The US has exerted significant pressure on its European allies, including the Netherlands, to limit their dealings with China, particularly in strategic sectors like semiconductors. The Dutch government's decision to restrict ASML's exports to China is part of a broader effort to align with US policies aimed at curbing China's technological rise. However, this has put the Netherlands in a difficult position. On one hand, it wants to maintain its strong economic ties with China, a major trade partner. On the other hand, it faces pressure from the US to limit China's access to critical technologies. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, a massive infrastructure project aimed at expanding China's global influence, has also brought the Netherlands and China closer together. The Netherlands, with its strategic location in Europe, is a key partner in China's efforts to expand its reach in Europe. Dutch ports, particularly the port of Rotterdam, play a crucial role in facilitating trade between China and Europe. This has made the Netherlands an important hub for China's trade routes, further strengthening the economic relationship between the two countries. However, participation in the BRI has raised concerns in some quarters, with critics arguing that it increases China's geopolitical influence in Europe. As the Netherlands navigates its relationship with China, it must balance economic opportunities with the potential risks of becoming too dependent on Chinese trade and investment. As China continues to expand its economic and technological influence, it faces growing pushback from countries like the US and its European allies. The battle for supremacy in high-tech industries, particularly in semiconductors, will be a defining feature of global geopolitics in the coming years. China's government is committed to becoming a leader in advanced technologies, and it is investing heavily in domestic industries to reduce its reliance on foreign suppliers. While US export controls may slow China's progress in certain areas, they are unlikely to stop China's rise as a technological superpower. Thanks for watching, and make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and put notifications on to stay updated on everything related to AI and robotics.